concept first. After that, we run our real data. Can we do that? Okay, you can refer to your notes. I believe that your friend is already have these notes, so we are going to study about the hypothesis testing. If you can give me your time, so I'm going to give some lecture here around 5 minutes only. So please focus in this lecture so that you understand lah whatever that we discuss. Okay, the first one, I'm going to explain to you about what is the hypothesis testing. As I mentioned to you, this is not hippopotamus. Hippopotamus is badai, it's different. Okay, this is hypothesis. So in the hypothesis testing, you need to understand a few jargon, a few steps, or a few protocol or standards. Okay, the first one, hypothesis is about testing of your assumption. We have 5 steps of hypothesis testing as indicated as follows. You can see here we got 5 steps, right? And then in the hypothesis also we got 2 types of error. The first one of error we call it as the, what is it? The first kind of error we call it as the ni lah error, apa nama ni? Ni dia ada 2 types of error. Dia ada type 1 error and type 2 error. Okay? So, the testing hypothesis require you to have the research hypothesis or alternative hypothesis. And the most important one, you must have your null. Usually, we not report our null in our thesis. We not stated our null. But we believe that you already understand our null. For example, I'm saying that there is a significant difference of knowledge between male and female. So, I'm straight away discussing and telling the readers about my alternative hypothesis, whereby you as the readers need to understand my null is the knowledge is similar between male and female. Understand? So usually null is not being spelled out in our discussion. Oh, not discussion lah, I mean in our thesis usually. But sometimes some of the format need us to declare both. So up to you lah, you declare accordingly. So the characteristic of the hypothesis, you must make sure that your hypothesis is testable. Is testable. Testable means that is researchable. Researchable, you boleh buat dia punya assumption dan you boleh test dia punya assumption. There is male and female. Itu tak boleh buat assumption kan? Tapi kalau you kata the mean of the knowledge between male and female are similar. So that one is a null hypothesis for the knowledge. And then you have the alternative hypothesis. The knowledge of male and female are not the same. So that one is the hypothesis alternative ataupun your research hypothesis. So this is about the research hypothesis. All these notes you can download and take it from your colleague. I give already to your colleague in the PDF form. So this is the example. So our focus is actually only for this. We only focusing on the testing for the differences. Excuse me. And testing for the relationship. So this is the 2 important difference. This 2 important hypothesis testing that we are going to discuss for today. If you can absorb easily, then we can proceed faster lah. It is difficult to prove something to be true, but it is much easier to prove something not to be true. This is what I mentioned to you before. If I got a car, name of my car is BMX. For example, I got new car named BMX, and I got another car named BMY. So, both of the car, BMX and BMY, which one I produce? I produce the BMX. The BMY is produced by the other manufacturer. So I want to say the BMX are more faster than BMI. It's very hard to prove that. But it's very easy to say that my BMX are not fast. Faham tak? Tidak laju. Maksudnya laju lah. Indirectly, I'm going to say that the BMX and the BMY have the different acceleration. Therefore, I'm looking into the mean. I'm looking into the highest mean lah. Which one yang the highest one? That one is the fastest car. It's an example of the application. So we got 2 types of hypothesis. Direction. The first one we call it as a non-directional hypothesis. And then the first one we call it directional hypothesis. Non-directional means that you do not sure which one are more faster than which one. For example, I say that BMX is differ with BMY. I am not saying anything about the direction. So therefore, that one we call it as the non-directional hypothesis. will need to consider both of the tails. Which is, if you see inside the SPSS, they put there 2 tail, just straight away take the 2 tail. If the 2 tail is already been given to you, just take that 2 tail. If you are using the non-directional hypothesis. Faham kan? If you are using the directional hypothesis, for example, I'm saying that BMY are much more slower than BMX, which is my car. So that's one, or that statement, that kind of statement have the direction, which is I'm saying that my car is faster than another car. So faster than is a direction. So if you got a direction, then you need to focus on the one tail. If the SPSS give you 2 tail, you need to divide by 2. Faham tak? Kalau SPSS nanti bagi kamu 0.032, you punya hypothesis is directional, therefore you need to divide by 2. Understand or not? You kena bahagikan dengan 2. But don't worry about this, because usually majority of you are only consider and play with non-directional hypothesis. Majority of you, most of you are only consider the non-directional. Awak ni semua banyak yang buat non-directional lah. Awak tak ada buat directional. Why? Because directional are usually in the experimental setting. Faham tak experimental setting? We want to test something inside a laboratory setting. So it's very difficult for us to control a human basis, but it's much more easier to control in the laboratory setting or in the control condition. Okay, the next one is the step in hypothesis. I think this one you already know kan? You already understand about the step, right? The first one, state your null and alternative hypothesis. The second one, state your alpha. The third one, run or calculate your significant value. The fourth one is making decision. And the fifth one, you make a conclusion based on your finding. So this is the step of the hypothesis testing for the comparison. So this is the statistical values or the statistical jargon. Okay, this one is a mu. Mu indicate the mean, the differences of the mean. And then the P naught, this one is called a P naught. P naught is equal to 0 means that no relationship. When we got something to do with this, okay, I give you one example. This one after this lah, don't worry. So P naught is not equal to 0 means that they got slope. So this one is a slope relationship. So I'm going to discuss with you about the relationship. Don't worry about this. And then the step 2, stated your alpha. The step 3 adalah you need to identify your significant values. And then the step 4 is you making a conclusion, making a decision whether you want to reject or fail to reject based on this criteria. Less than reject, more than fail to reject. Very good. And then the step 5 is you making a decision based on your decision just now. You make conclusion based on your decision. Whether you want to say that there is a significant difference or relationship, or you want to say no significant difference or no relationship. So these notes, no need to hafal or remember, you just need to understand the process. If you reject the H null, therefore you say there is different. If you not rejecting the null, you fail to reject the null, then you would say there is no difference. It's just as simple like that, you know. When you understand this one, it's very easy in your life until you want to do your PhD, you know. It's a very simple process. Okay, we got the hypothesis testing. We are considered about the error. This is what we call type 1 error and type 2 error. All of this error occurs because of many aspects. The majority of it happen because you are systematically making biased selections of respondent and analysis. Especially for the type 1 error. Type 1 error is usually happen. Why? Because you are not setting your alpha in a good manner. Faham tak? Alpha kamu set terlalu besar, 0.5. 0.5 means that your quality of data is very hampered lah, hancur lah, tak berapa cantik lah. So the best thing is to set at the 0.05, which is considered 95% of confident interval. So that means you are confident that the populations of your study under interest, 95% is correct. If you want to set 99%, it's very hard because you are using the public data. If you are using the animal data or control environment, it's okay. Okay? So we got the type 1 error and type 2 error. What is this about? Type 1 error occur when the null hypothesis is rejected, when the facts, the null is true. That means you say that is different. To be facts, to be truth, that actually the different is not exist. You got what I mean? You want to say, okay, we reject the null hypothesis because the alpha is, the p-value is less than alpha. So you make a decision to reject your null hypothesis. Unfortunately, actually, your hash null is not true. This is one occur because of the probability and the precision. Precision is about the alpha value lah yang saya cakap tadi tu. And then the type 2 error. The type 2 error is a systematic error. It's happened because you fail to estimate your sample size. Faham sample size? You need to estimate the minimum numbers required for you to do sampling. You cannot just waiting until the God give you some hint and then you give just a click of hand. I want to take 30 respondent. How you are going to do that? How you get that kind of idea? Oh, I got it from the God. Oh, that is wrong, my dear. You cannot do like that. You must estimate using a statistical manner. This one I will going to teach you if I got time. This one nanti you belajar tau dengan you punya pensyarah tanya macam mana nak kira sample size. Don't just use the rule of thumb, okay? You must estimate and calculate it accordingly using the rejection region that of your interest. Is either using the proportion base or the continuous measures base. Okay, I also got some idea and statistical package or Excel software that you can estimate your sample size. But this one I think is much more technical lah. Okay, this is the general observations of the hypothesis testing. So this one I'm going to skip because it's so technical that I don't want you to become stressful lah. Okay. So finish about the hypothesis testing. So now we are going to do a few tests. Are you ready now, ladies and gentlemen? You ready to run some tests? Or you just ready to go for breakfast? Which one you ready? Yeah, we go to the first test first lah, okay? We go to the first test first. And then I'm trying to see that whether you can digest it nicely or not. And after a few minutes you digest it nicely, then we proceed with the next one. Okay, this is the topic about the introduction to statistics for the name of the Ttest. Okay, remember one thing. What is the Ttest, ladies and gentlemen? Anybody can share with me what is Ttest? Apa itu Ttest? Siapa tahu? Ttest is a test for you to identify differences between two independent groups when the data is normally tabulated. Okay, I make a repetition. What is the Ttest? The Ttest is the parametric analysis that measures what? Measures differences. Measures differences of what? Measures differences of mean in terms of two independent populations or two independent groups. You only can use Ttest to make difference for two groups. No more than two groups, not less than two groups. Only two. That one we call it as the independent sample Ttest. So far so good? You understand already, right? This is the Ttest. Okay. The Ttest have so many options. We got 3 different type of Ttest. Okay. The first one we call it as a one sample Ttest. The second one we call it as the independent sample Ttest. The first one we call it as what? One sample Ttest. Okay, the next one we call it as the independent sample Ttest. And then the third one we call it as dependent sample Ttest. Dependent sample Ttest, or usually familiar or known as paired sample Ttest. Ujian Ttest bersandar ataupun berpasangan. Paired sample Ttest. So this is the 3 important aspects in the Ttest, and you must able to understand that Ttest are measuring what? Measuring the pandai, the differences. Beza. Beza of what? Beza of mu or x bar. Mi pandai. And then it's depend on what applications that you are trying to do. Okay, the first one sample Ttest. One sample Ttest. Ini dijalankan, you are running the one sample Ttest to test your sample population with standard. Faham tak? You want to run something with a standard. For example, I got the knowledge of the allied health professionals need to be minimum 30 marks. So that means that is our standard. Then I'm going to test all of you. Are you more than 30 or less than 30? That one we call it as a one sample Ttest. Faham? We want to test a mean of population with standard. Again, a mean of population. This one, a mean of population with standard. Okay, this is the first idea about one sample Ttest. The next one, the second one, we call it as the independent sample Ttest. So independent sample Ttest, as I mentioned to you before, they are being used for measuring the differences between how many groups? 2 groups only. For example, I want to test the knowledge of male and female. Male and female are independent to each other, correct? Therefore, what kind of analysis that are suitable to measure the mean of the group 1 and the group 2, which is the male and female? The most appropriate analysis is to run the independent sample Ttest. Okay? And the last one, but not least, we call it as a PET sample. What is the PET sample? The PET sample is actually easy to understand. It's about the follow-up analysis. For example, I'm going to give you quizzes early in this morning, and afternoon or at evening, I'm going to retest or giving you the re-quiz. I'm going to give you the same quiz in the evening. So you are the same in the morning and also same in the afternoon, right? So you are going to answer the same answer and question. But of course you got different marks lah. Before this you don't get that skill. Now you got that skill, then your marks probably much more higher in the post evaluation. So this one is talking about pre and post. So we got the mean of 1, which is the time 1, and the mu of 2, which is the time 2. Same personnel, same people, but measuring at different time. Faham tak? And you must remember, any of these T-tests only can be analyzed for the normal tabulation data. So that means your data must be normal. If your data is not normal, then you need to do some transformation. That transformation, I'm not covering it. If I got times, then you can ask me that question. How to make our data normal. That one you can ask me after this. Okay, this is our objective. We want to apply for the T-test. And then the requirement. The most important element that you need to understand is the requirement. The requirement for you to run the T-test, the first one, your DV must be IR. IR means that interval ratio scale. Dalam bentuk scale data. Dalam SPSS tu dia mesti bentuk ruler. The shape must be in the ruler form. That means the data is numeric data. You cannot run T-test for identification the mean of male and female. No. Male and female has no value. We put the value 1 and 2, just what we discussed yesterday, to indicate and give the computer the idea for analysis. And then the next one, your group must only and only 2. Cannot less, cannot more. Only 2. And the last but not least is the assumption your data is must tabulated normally. You cannot run the T-test if your data is not normal, okay? If your data not normal, you are going to use the non-parametric analysis. Okay, now we got the PET sample and independent sample. I already explaining to you before. So now we are going to see the step. The step is the first one, state your null and alternative hypothesis, alpha, t-value, decision, and making a conclusion. Is very simple, it's straightforward. Once you understand the T-test, then whatever test you will understand in the end of the day. Faham? Therefore, you need to very focus. Just one test only you focus. The rest of the test will become the miracle of God. You will able to understand everything. You must understand the first step or the first hint of hypothesis testing, then you are able to fly. You are able to fly without wing. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's begin. The first one, you must state your hypothesis. Okay, can you see this one? Mu is equal to 0. Mu is not equal to 0. What is this? This is the hypothesis for PET sample. You know PET sample? Saya dah cerita tadi kan. PET sample is what? Ujian yang mana beza dia adalah masa. Excuse me. You got number 1 and you got number 2. You are measuring the same. For example, you are Fatimah, you are Aminah, you are Aisyah, whatsoever your name. You are yourself in the morning and also you are yourself in the afternoon. So I'm going to measure what? In this example, I'm going to measure your knowledge. So I'm going to make making the hypothesis as follows. So the first one hypothesis that I will be made are null hypothesis lah. So my null hypothesis will be stated that there is no difference between pre and post. Faham tak? Pre and post will be the same. Okay, and the next one I'm going to explain or tell you about the alternative hypothesis. So my alternative hypothesis will be your pre and post are not the same. Pre and post maknanya ada different lah, ada different. Not the same or same, itu semua adalah ayat bahasa Melayu sahaja. Okay, the second step is stated your alpha value. You stated your alpha value. And then the next one adalah kamu akan membuat run analysis. You akan run the analysis and you report the SIGT, the significant T. Kalau you pakai Ttest, dia bagi statistik T. If you run the other test, they give you another statistic. Okay, after that you run this one, you can proceed to the step 4, which is you making a decision. So you must remember, your decision must always be like this. Your decision will be like this. Oh, sorry. Your decision will be, is either you want to reject or you fail to reject your null hypothesis. You reject or you fail to reject your null hypothesis. This one. Kalau you punya alpha less than, maka you reject. Kalau more than, you fail to reject. Okay, this is the hint. This is the only thing that you need to understand. You can also sing that song. You remember that song or I never sing that song? Less than reject, more than fail to reject. So when you reject, you say that the differences is significant or there is a significant difference. And if you fail to reject the null hypothesis, you will say that the difference is not significant or there is no significant difference. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let us calculate it one by one and making an example, and after that you are able to fly. Ready? Okay, this is the working example. I want you to copy this data and then we do it together. Can we do it together or not? Can. Very good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, take this data and then please put this data inside your SPSS now. You open your new file in the SPSS. We just want to run the simplest method here, the simplest idea to run the analysis. You just go file, new, you just click here data. Okay, after that, you just click here, everything other than this, you just minimize it accordingly. Okay, you open the data like this. After that, you go to the variable view, you type here pre, you type here post. Okay, follow or not follow? Okay, after that, you put the data lah, 12, 15. Okay, after that, you put the data here, 14, 17. Okay, the next one is 13, 13. After that is what? 11, 15. After that is what? 12, 16. 12, 16. After that is what? 10, 14. Okay, after that 15, 18. After that 13, 17. And then after that is 9, 8. And then 14 and 18. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is the data. Okay, can you do that? You just put pre and post in the variable view here. You set as pre and post first and then go to the data view and put the numbers as follows. So in this case or in this example, I'm going to share with you how we want to conduct the pre and post test. Pre and post test based on this case or this example. Okay, based on this example, you can see here, a training program was conducted to improve participant knowledge on the ICT. Data were collected from the sample before and after the training program. Okay, test the hypothesis testing of the training is effective to improve the participant knowledge at ICT at the alpha 0.01. So that means they want to test before and after the training given. Faham tak? Okay, and the next one, state your null and alternative, report the statistic, and the third one, state your decision, whether you want to reject or fail to reject. Let us do it together. You want to follow me or you don't want to follow? You want to follow already? Okay, the first one is to write up every data there. You write up already the data. Too fast, eh? Okay, too fast. I'm going to hypothesis testing. Make sure that you familiar with the hypothesis step. As I mentioned to you before, this is the only thing that you need to focus first. If you understand this one, then you can use the same thing over and over again for other hypothesis testing. Okay, the first one that you need to understand is writing up your null and alternative hypothesis. So what is our null? Our null will be the mu1 is similar with mu2. Mu1 ini adalah pre and post same. Faham tak? Maksudnya you akan kata mean of the pre and post are similar. Itulah yang you akan tulis. Memang tengok ayat saya ni tak faham lah, sebab dia macam cacing lah kan. It's like a worm. Ascaris lumbricoides. Faham? Okay, the next one is the hash alternative. So my hash alternative ataupun my hypothesis alternative will be pre and post are not the same lah. Yang atas kita kata same, sama kan, tak ada beza. Yang bawah ni we are stated that our pre and post measurement are different. But when I say pre and post are different, is there any direction? No direction, right? Therefore we are focusing on the single or two tail. We are focusing on the two tail. Sebab saya kata pre and post ada beza. Saya tak kata pre lebih besar daripada post. Betul tak? It depends on you as a researcher. What kind of alternative hypothesis that you want to use. It's all up to you. Okay? That is the first step. Understand or not? You want me to make a repetition? Okay, the first step is your null and alternative hypothesis. So your null hypothesis will be pre and post measurement are the same. If my English are not so good, sorry, okay? If we proceed with the alternative one, we say that pre and post are not the same. Not the same. Means that there are some differences lah, faham tak? Ayat ni boleh tukar sekatilah you nak kata pre and post are not same, pre and post are different. Up to you, it's just a language. Understand or not understand? Very good. So this one pre and post are not the same. Is there any identifications of direction? No identification of direction. So that means this one is a non-directional hypothesis. Correct? When there is non-directional hypothesis, that means I'm going to see the two-tail. Two-tail or SIG two-tail lah. Two-tail. So this is my focus. So this is the first step of hypothesis testing. So far so good or not so good? Oh, so not understand. Okay, let us go to the second step. So the second step is actually you need to stated your alpha. You stated your alpha, okay? You stated your alpha. So usually we set our alpha as 0.05. Okay, we state your alpha inside the 0.05. This is the usual declarations of our alpha. So if our p-value is more than alpha, then we make a sum decision. If our p-value is less than alpha, then we make a sum decision. So I have to